Hi, I'm Paul Germain. Welcome to another session of Smart Boating. As you know, if you watched the show before, we typically cover a wide variety of topics, from marine insurance to man overboard. And the general idea is to provide you with some information that will help you make smarter decisions and have more fun on the water. But every now and then we take a side trip to a place that I think you might enjoy, and that's the case today. We're at the 46th annual Lake Winnepesauke Antique and Classic Boat Show, and we're going to see some interesting boats here, and to guide us through some of that is Scott Robinson, one of the co-chairs.
Good morning, Paul. How you doing?
Good to see you. Hey, we got a great day for our show and some great boats here. Can you fill people in a little bit on the event and a little bit on ACBS?
Absolutely. The event was started in the 70s by Jim Irwin and Vinnie Callahan, one of Irwin Marine and the other one of Channel Marine.
Channel Marine, yep.
And they basically invited some of their friends that had classic boats and said, let's have a little show. And it started with that, and it has grown ever since.
Wow. And that fits under the ACBS umbrella now, right?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, what's the ACBS
The Antique
about?
Classic Boat Society was created in like 1972 by a guy named Joe Fleming. He came up with the idea, and they created a board of directors and wrote a charter, and it now has chapters both nationally and international.
Internationally, right.
And it's for all the folks that love to collect and restore and show their pride and joy.
Yes, that's a great society. Well, listen, we've got some interesting boats here, so why don't I go film some and then rejoin you at the end of the show?
Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks, Paul.
You're welcome. Well, Bo, here's an interesting boat. You probably, it's rare, but in your restoration work, you've probably seen other ones similar to it. This is a Garwood, right?
Right. This is a triple cockpit Garwood. Looking at it, I'm not sure if it's a 25 or a 28 footer, but we've got a single windshield, and the 28s normally had a optional second windshield on the third cockpit.
Oh, they did.
So, and there's no bow light, so I'm going to take a stab and say I think it's a 25-foot Garwood.
Yeah. Again, high-end mahogany speedboats for its time, right? There weren't many boat manufacturers in the same class.
Right.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, Garwood was competing with Chris Craft. And probably out-competing them because he had that racing career and racing history going for him.
Yeah.
So everybody kind of clamored for these boats. And this is a real nice. I mean, I'd like to think it is the 25. There's very few 25s in the world. Everyone wanted the big one, and the one that was a little bit smaller was not a popular seller.
Okay.
Again, we have the consolidated dash panel 5-instrument cluster. And we have the wheel on the right, which would indicate that this is after the early 30s. So this boat would be from the mid-1930s.
Okay, all right. And could have original power, or could have been repowered?
Yeah, it looks like there's a V8 exhaust elbow sitting on the side there.
Tucked in there, this is a Lyman. We've seen a few of these at the show today. This is a 59 Lyman. Looks like it's in really nice shape. This is about 23 feet or so, I understand. I like, one of the things I like about the Lyman is the way the windshield's opened up. I mean, it seems like a small detail, but just really on a hot summer day, it really increased the comfort of riding on the boat, didn't it?
Under the canvas,
Yeah.
when you open those up, you get a nice breeze, and it makes for a very lovely ride on a real hot day.
Right. And they did all clinker built, right? All lab straight.
Right.
No carvel plank, no smooth hulls for them.
There were a few Lymans in the early 30s that were built carvel planked.
Oh, is that right?
But they quickly adopted the lap strake program and went to plywood, and that's what they're known for.
This one looks nicely restored.
Yeah, nice clean boat. And there was one problem with the plywood, in the early days, and the veneers would let loose and they would crack and split.
Yes.
But here's a boat with just beautiful plywood decks on it.
Really.
Likely they've been replaced.
Yeah, really well maintained. Again, nice big open cockpit, plenty of room for the captain, first mate, any passengers.
Right.
Very easy to get around.
There's just such comfortable boats to be in.
Right. And the scene typically where the water gets a little rough, could be Thousand Islands, it could be Lake Winnepesauke could be the ocean.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Rivers and oceans, and I mean, these were good boats.
Mm-hmm. Now here's a racing boat. This is a 1923 26-foot Curtis Wilgold Gold Cup racer.
Gold Cup, that's right. This was, well, actually, this is the recreation, but Curtis Wilgold was a boat that raced in the 20s, had a nice, long racing career. I'm trying to think who built it. I want to say it was a John Hacker underbelly bottom. But a friend of ours has remade 2 or 3 of these early Gold Cups that no longer exist.
Yeah.
Fabulous job. I mean, this is probably way better than the original boat, and faster than the original boat.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. These are fine. I've driven this boat. Fine performing, very fast.
Very narrow.
They're real skinny.
Yes.
The transom on the water on this boat is 27 inches wide,
Wow.
which seems absurdly narrow.
Yes.
But,
Right. That's less than a yard.
Right.
Yeah.
But it made for a fine handling boat.
There's some big horsepower in this boat, isn't there?
There's 600 horsepower, I believe, in this.
Wow.
And again, you can see the dash panel with a full complement of gauges, switches. It really does mimic the look of the original boat. Even when you're sitting in it, you really get the sensation that you're in 1920.
Oh, I bet. This boat must fly.
Yeah, it's 60 plus miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
It may go 70.
Yeah. Well, here's an interesting boat. This is a 1959 Century Resorter. I don't know, maybe 17, 18 feet, I would guess. This was unusual. A few different aspects of it made it unusual,
Well,
right?
by this era, this is 1959, and Century was experimenting with all kinds of design features. Flair, I think it would be the term that would describe it. The 59 was really unique in that the bow section on these boats, we call them the carrier decks.
I see that.
But it has a large amount of overhang, and it's like a blunt square nose on a pointed hull.
Yeah.
They only did it for 1 year. It could
Very
be it
unusual.
was not, maybe it was not that popular, but they only did it for 1 year.
So this is pretty rare.
It is.
Yeah.
There's a good shot of the
That is a
foredeck.
good shot, yeah. Yeah, you can see that overhang you're talking
Yeah,
about.
and this has the convertible top on it as well. That was an option. And there's a center section or an inside section that's made out of plexiglass that will slide forward and latch onto the windshield.
Oh, okay. All right.
So when you wanted to get in and out, you just slid it back, jumped in the boat, and then with a handle you could slide it forward and
It's
lock
like a
it.
sunroof kind of.
Well, yeah, sliding sunroof. Exactly right.
Yeah.
Yep. This is 19 feet.
19 feet, okay.
Yeah, they did the same. They used the same bow on the Coronado as well.
They did.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
and
don't think I've seen one of those.
And they put big horsepower in them, so they were fast and good water ski boats.
Here's another interesting boat. It's a 1995 25-foot Garwood Streamliner. Beautiful lines on this boat.
Yeah, this was sort of a milestone boat for Garwood.
Oh.
Now this is a replica, but in the late 30s, the Chrysler Engine Corporation had introduced the V-drive engine. So
Okay.
the motor could sit at the very back of the boat, the power went forward to a V-drive unit and then back down through the hull.
Right.
And Garwood built a 22-foot boat around that and called it the
Okay.
Streamliner.
Okay.
And in doing so, you got 3 seats, 3 cockpits
Yeah.
forward of the engine.
I see.
So it was a very convenient, social, good for conversation, etc.
Right.
And then the Turcottes in the 2000s stretched the boat to
They did.
25
I see.
and made this for a customer on Lake Winnepesauke.
Okay. Yeah. It really worked well. It has a nice balanced look
It does.
to it. in terms
I've been
of-
in this boat as well, and it's just a nice performing boat.
Yeah.
And everybody's in the forward section of the boat, and the noise is in the back.
Right. And you can see how the cockpit makes it easy for people to flow back and forth.
Right. And it's, for an older couple especially, you weren't climbing over a
Oh,
motor
yeah.
box to get to the rear seat. You just
Right.
walked down through the center.
Yeah.
A very convenient, easy to own boat.
Yes. Yeah, very relaxing. And the cockpit just extends all the way back in terms of the access.
Yeah.
That's-
And then the gas tanks fit underneath the little jump seats.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here's another lineman. It was a big day here at the show for linemen's. And this one is a 59 23-footer. Again, we've been talking about the clinker hulls on these. They were made in Sandusky, Ohio.
Right.
And I think that's where they picked some of their rough water philosophy, right?
Right. I
On
mean,
the
they
Great
were
Lakes,
they were
right?
built on the Great Lakes, and they
Yes.
were basically designed to be used in rough water.
Right.
And that's why they went with the round bilge construction.
Yep.
The alignments have a very narrow entry.
Oh, they do.
The bow
Up forward
section is
there, yeah.
particularly skinny when it hits the water.
Yeah, so it tends to cut the water.
Yep, it throws it, and being one of the nice things about the lap strake design is all those edges. Any water that would come up the side gets cut off
They
by
knock
the
it
plank
down.
and
They
thrown
knock it
back down.
Yeah.
So the boats become very dry as well.
Yeah, let's get got a hatch, portal hatch there on the
Yeah, and this is a
front
little
deck.
later, and it's got the glass in the hatch.
Oh, right.
So this boat, I believe, is big enough to have the little cuddy cabin down below, and it lit from above. So during
Yeah.
the day, you could see.
Oh, that's
you
nice.
could
Yeah, you're not
go
in
in
a
and
dark cave.
right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. In the open cockpit, engines of choice: Chryslers, Crusaders, Chevys.
Yeah, they
Fords.
used a lot of 6 cylinders,
A lot of 6
and
cylinders.
then
Yes.
they also used the Ford. I believe we're looking at the 292 or 312 Ford in there.
Okay. So that was pretty decent horsepower for this.
Yeah, that was
particular
200
frame of boat.
horsepower.
Well, here's a little Pinion, a 1954 12-foot called a cart topper. These were pretty popular back then.
There was a lot of these made, and they were really designed for the fishermen, fishing on the small ponds. And the boat was light enough. I mean, it's strip built on seam frames.
Okay.
But then again, it's canvas covered, and
Yeah.
I mean, you are looking at a little bit of wrinkle in the canvas on
Yes,
this
I see
boat.
that.
But they were very light. You can literally could just pop it up on the top of your car.
Yeah. Cedar planking.
Cedar planked.
Cedar
Yeah.
plank. So
Yeah.
a lot of rot resistance to that.
Yeah, and they made them from I think 10 feet to 14 feet. But you know, very simple, very lightweight, very portable.
Yeah. Very open. I mean, there's nothing
Exactly.
get in the way. You want to go fishing or, I don't know, exploring, whatever.
Yeah, but you could sneak into places that no big boat could get into and hit the fishing holes that no one else could get to.
Right.
I
Right.
grew up fishing out of a boat just like this.
The-
My neighbor had one.
That the fuel tank have the pressurized fuel tank up front with a
Yeah, yeah. So
long
this
gas
is
hose to the back.
a period engine. It would the engine compression pressurized the tank, so
Had
there
to
was no
pump
fuel
it up.
pump. No
Right.
fuel pump. Yep.
Right.
So, but nice example, and a nice clean wood inside.
Yes.
Usually the wood around the keel had darkened over the years.
Oh, really?
So this one was not used very much.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Got an old Johnson on there. Well, this is an interesting boat from the perspective that the Jersey Sea Skiff. Now, this particular one was made of fiberglass, but they went back earlier than that when originally they were wood, right?
They started out as wood lapstrake boats. Yep.
Yep.
And I mean, literally, is it Jersey Speed Skiff? They came out of the skiffs that were running the New Jersey shore.
Yes.
And then
Lap strake. They were all lap strake.
lap strake.
Right?
Yep. They were 16 feet long, and then, I guess they started out as fishing boats, but the guys started racing, and the next
Yeah.
thing you know, they had a class going.
Yes.
And
Very popular class too,
and
right?
it's,
There were
they
a number of
still
people doing it.
APBA still runs Jersey Speed Skiffs.
Yeah.
And they are the wildest. If you ever get a chance to watch a race, it's the wildest boat racing you'll ever see.
Right.
When they go around a corner, the boats are literally on their side.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
They
mean,
roll over.
it's-
Now, why do they have this open area here in the front?
Well,
just for seating or something?
Good question, but I think the class calls for seating for 4.
It does. Okay.
Yeah, but
All right.
they
So to
literally-
meet the requirements. They
Right.
have to build it like
They
that.
race with just 2. You've got the vertical steering wheel,
Yeah.
and they run trim tabs. I think the stock, the runabout class calls for a 305 Chevy, but these guys
Yeah.
put bigger
Yeah.
motors in them because they just want to go fast.
They do. Yeah. Yeah. So we're talking at least 60, 70 miles an
Yeah,
hour, right?
run up. There's a couple around here that'll run 75 miles an hour.
Is that right?
A 16-foot boat.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's frightening to watch, and they leap and jump and hop, and
Yeah.
they're a
little,
handful.
A little squirrely. Yeah.
They're very squirrely in my world.
Here's an interesting, talking about speed, here's a Hallett Baron. These boats apparently were built on the West Coast. This one in particular was restored. It was a local boat apparently up in the Alton Bay area.
Right.
It fell into a state of disrepair, and the fellow bought it and had it put back together again.
Yeah.
Big engine in it.
Yeah. I think these were sold with, big block Chevys or big block Fords.
Yeah, I think it's had a Ford 390 in it originally.
Yeah, and he's got a Ford 428 in it
Yes.
currently.
Yeah.
It has to be a rocket ship. I mean, all of this style of boat came out of California.
Yes.
I mean, that's where the whole flat bottom, go fast thing started.
Looks very Californian.
It does.
Yeah.
It is. Let's be
Yes,
real.
right. Yeah, very genuine.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he's done a fine job kind of bringing it back into what looks like racing for him. But I think he is actually legal on the waters of New Hampshire because he's got his insert mufflers and he's not making so much noise that they'd kick him off the water.
Yeah, look at the size of that engine. It's got
Yeah.
the dry pipes on it. I think he's got, I don't know what he's got for carburation on there, but something serious.
Oh, there's a lot. Let's
I
put
think
it
there's
that
over
way.
500 horsepower for
Yeah.
this engine at this
Yeah.
point.
And again, he's running the V drive. So a lot of these boats, put the water drive, Berkeley jet drive water on them.
Right,
But
yes,
they're
the
nowhere
Berkeleys.
near as fast as the propeller driven
Oh,
boats.
is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, here's a nice little boat here. It's a 1966 18-foot Century Resorter. This is kind of their sweet spot when I think about it. Maybe later on they've developed them well, but
Yeah.
nice example. They kind of had it all pulled together at this point, didn't they?
There were a lot of these on Winnepesauke because Channel Marine, I believe, was the largest Century dealer in the United States.
Oh.
And Vinnie Callahan ran Channel Marine, and he was a good salesman, and he was selling a product that fit the lake pretty well. So
Right.
they sold a lot of these. He sold me a boat years ago, this same model.
So mahogany, all mahogany,
All
right?
mahogany hull and sides, yeah. And
Yeah.
typically, originally they started off with mahogany decks, but then they went to the canvas decks we see there.
We see here, right?
And they started out with white, and pretty soon they started offering other colors and, expanded the options.
Yeah. Century kind of moved in lockstep with the automotive industry, right?
They
in terms
did,
of
yeah.
picking up on a lot of styling cues and designing that way.
Yeah, and they were just a great all-around boat.
Yeah.
You could cocktail cruise in them, you could go fast, you could go slow, you could water ski,
Yeah.
you could entertain. I mean, if you owned just one boat, this would be a good one.
This is a nice boat, yeah, right. And again, the ski pylon, no Century goes out the door without a ski pylon,
Yeah.
right?
And enough horsepower so that you can really ski as well.
That's right, Yep. Yeah, that's all upholstered too.
Yeah.
Very comfortable boat. Now here's of course, a very interesting boat. In 1909, Goodhue Hawkins launched, 28 foot. You don't see many of these days. I think they were very popular years ago, though, right?
Well, Goodhue was built on Lake Winnepesauke. It was the local boat builder. I had the pleasure of actually judging this boat at the show, and this owner has taken great pains to, do a lot of work. He's done a whole bunch of hull work.
Oh.
And yet it's a 1900s boat.
Yes.
So you do see there's probably a dozen Goodhues left on the lake.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That many, yeah.
And this is a nice one, and he added the top. He put a top on it.
Yeah, that looks like it adds some comfort. Now, that's a very long boat and a very narrow
It's
boat, right?
really narrow.
Yeah.
But, in the early days, long and skinny was how you went fast.
Like a canoe. Well, it has a
Honestly,
canoe
just like a
shape.
canoe.
Yes.
And
What kind of power did they typically use in a boat like this?
probably knew it would have used a McDuff engine. And McDuff's made 1, 2, and 4-cylinder motors and were built in Laconia on the lake.
Yeah.
So you would have had a local boat builder with a local engine builder. He's got a little 4-cylinder gray marine in it now.
Okay.
But you can see it's just wide enough to put 2 wicker chairs side by side.
Right.
It's very skinny, and the traditional huge flagpole in the back. So, but it was nice to see that he's gone to such efforts to bring a local boat back.
That's a beauty. Now, at the boat show today, there's a variety of boats, both wood and fiberglass. More wood, certainly. This is a Chris Craft Lancer built probably in the early 1970s. I like this boat. I think it has very pretty lines to it.
The Antique and Classic Boat Society is now starting to recognize fiberglass
Yeah.
or early fiberglass boats
Yeah.
as antiques.
Yes.
And lo and behold, we're seeing them at the boat shows.
Yeah.
And I kind of like the idea of it because the newer generation, you know, the kids in their 20s,
Yeah.
can afford to buy these and
Yes.
then, you know, put some energy and effort into them and make them great boats that they can use. So we're getting the next generation to come along. Granted, I think there's less maintenance in
There's
these.
a lot less maintenance.
Yeah, so the guys are having more fun with them and they're out using them.
Yeah, this is like a Formula 233,
Right.
a small Bertram, just a really nice size for a couple, a young family. Look at how spacious it is.
Yeah,
You get in the boat, there's
Exactly.
gobs of room.
And, you know, they're running, you know, V8 powers, so they're very
probably
usable
350.
boats.
Yep.
And, you know, if you're going to go to all the motion of restoring a glass boat, the Chris Craft is probably a good choice.
Right.
so-
And particularly a model like this, the Lancer was kind of, in my mind, kind of a classic. They
Right.
I thought they really captured the lines well.
Right.
Yeah. Just a
So
big
there's
open cockpit
Yeah,
there.
good shot of it overall.
Mm-hmm. Now this boat is a 1947 21-foot Garwood Fish Brothers. What?
Well, it's a
J1. Looks like a racing
It's-
boat.
Yeah, well, it is. It's a hybrid boat. There were some fellows on Lake Winnepesauke that took old Garwood utilities and turned them into sport boats by modifying them.
Oh, really?
And the fellow that owned this liked them so much that he had the Fish Brothers in New York building one.
Oh, okay.
And he came by one day with a not a tractor, but a trailer, with this mushed up old boat in the back. But he said, look at that, there's my Garwood.
Okay.
But he got all the hardware with the dilapidated
which
boat
is
he
very
bought.
important, right?
Right, so
Yeah.
then he used the hardware when he built this.
Yes.
And this is a pretty high performance boat too.
It is. Mhm.
He was a Chrysler Hemi aficionado
Mhm.
and a big fan, so he built a 392 Chrysler Hemi, and that's what's in this boat today.
Okay. All right.
Something like 400 horsepower.
Oh, we can see it there under
You
the
can see the
hatches,
twin carb, yep.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So this is laid out very much like the original, just some proportions changed.
yep,
Mm-hmm.
yep. So it's it's retained the Garwood look,
Yep.
but stretched just a little to make it 21 feet.
Okay. All right. And that seems to have worked well. I mean, certain holes it works, others don't. This one,
Right.
it looks like it,
Right.
the proportions stayed
So
nice.
there's 3 of these in existence now
Is that right?
that look, they look almost identical.
All right. Well, we were just talking about a glass boat there a second ago. Here's another one. It's a 1979, 18-foot Century Resorter. So they took that popular boat. They said, hey, let's basically mold it off our popular wood boat. Let's make a fiberglass
Well,
one, right?
and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
They took a wooden hull and they made a mold from the wooden hull, and then lo and behold, boom, they were making fiberglass hulls out of the same mold.
Yeah.
And this is one of those.
Yeah. And this
So-
kind of fit right into the middle of the range, right? We had the Coronado above it. I don't know where the Arabian was. It was somewhere in that neck of the woods.
Yep. Well, the Arabian was generally the 19 feet.
Okay.
The Coronado was 22.
I see.
And the Resorter, 18. And then they did
18
make
under.
a 16.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this was the most popular one.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, the big windshield kept you dry no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
It was powerful and you could ski. And the upholstery, of course, is, typical Century. Everything's upholstered and done well.
Right. This is a great shot to see that almost every surface inside the boat,
Right,
the interior of the
right.
boat is covered with,
And by the late 70s, you see they had glove boxes and all kinds of
just like a car.
creature comforts.
Yeah.
Right.
Even the way the seats are designed here,
Right.
The cut of the seats reminds me of an automobile.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
They were looking to mimic the automobile idea.
Mm-hmm. The big V8 in there.
Yeah. And there's your Chrysler V8,
Yeah.
probably a 318.
Yeah. A lot of torque. Now this is a great boat here. 1994, 20-foot
Yep.
Garwood runabout. Again, we've been talking about Garwoods here today at the show. Another nice example.
Yeah, and this, we've seen those big triple cockpits. Well, here's a boat where they just took the third cockpit off and made it 20 feet.
Okay.
So it's a little shorter, a little more refined.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably a little small for the broads on Lake Winnepesauke when the wind is blowing, but for most applications, most lakes, just a nice boat. And Garwood did build twin cockpit forward boats in this format.
Yeah.
They were 19 feet, so the Garwood company, or the current Garwood company, has stretched it just 1 foot to give it the little longer, leaner look.
All right, all right. And again, I think they did an exceptional job.
Yeah.
The boat looks like it came out of the factory.
It does.
Yes.
It does. I mean, it looks just like, if you put a 19-foot original boat next to that, you could hardly tell the difference.
All mahogany.
All mahogany, yeah. Yeah, West System bottoms, so you don't have to worry about soaking and the like.
No soaked bottom.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then modern construction with epoxies and glues, and makes a pretty strong, durable, tough boat.
Yes. Yeah.
And pretty traditional, you know, from
Right.
dash panel
Looks like
to
it just hopped out of something in
yeah, it's a little time warp.
the early 1900s.
Yeah, time warp with a new boat
Yeah. And new power.
and
too,
V8
right?
powered, right?
Yeah. Well, Scott, it's been a great show today. A lot of interesting boats, old wood classics, antique boats. But we've got to wrap up the show today. Is there anything you'd like to add before we do wrap up the show?
Absolutely. I'd love to add something. I suggest that all of the folks watching this show get on the website of acbs.org, find out when the events are,
Yes.
and attend them.
Yes.
And they will love these events and
Oh,
have a
yeah.
great time.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll get inspired to get a classic boat.
Exactly. Exactly. That's a great idea.
Paul, great to see you again.
Thank you. And thank you, Smart Boating viewers. If you have any comments or questions, please visit us at the website www.smartboatingus.com. Thank you.